trailblazer. And can I join with you, Mr. Speaker-elect, to thank House staff for their hard work in welcoming our new colleagues to this House and their service over the coming Parliament. And finally, may I congratulate you, Mr. Speaker-elect. When you first ascended to the Speaker's chair, you did so with a healthy majority, and that was testament to your wide appeal and the confidence in which this House places in you and your judgments. The last Conservative Prime Minister, the Right Honourable John Major, who spoke from these opposition benches, said about the role of the Speaker, the job specification is pretty daunting. The patience of Job and the wisdom of Solomon are only the basic requirements. We demand also impartiality, independence and fairness. Well, Mr. Speaker-elect, you have shown over the past 4.5 years how to protect that careful balance. The last few years in this House have been at times difficult, and you, sir, have always brought this House together. That was clear when we lost our colleague, Sir David Amess. And I know your guidance and support for members then was greatly appreciated. It is a privilege to be in this House. Our democracy is powerful, and as we have witnessed, it can be definitive. But I know that this House will, true to its best traditions, hold the executive to account. And I know that Mr. Speaker-elect will facilitate that. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker-elect, I have no doubt that we will face difficult days together in this place, but I also know that I speak for the whole House when I say that we will all welcome your leadership and guidance in the months and years ahead.
I call the Father of the House, Sir Edward Lee.
Mr. Speaker-elect, as the first backbencher to speak in this Parliament, I seem to remember that almost the very first thing you said, almost before you even arrived in the chair to start your distinguished career as our Speaker, you said that your primary job was to defend us backbenchers. And I know that you will do that with enormous spirit and diligence. I know that this place is primarily about great events and the government being held to account by the opposition, but it's also about the right and the duty for all of us backbenchers, even if some of our views are a bit idiosyncratic, to have our views and to have our say. We all welcome the fact that we are such a diverse Parliament in every single way, but above all, we are a Parliament of a diversity of views. We are all equal, although, to be fair, some are more equal than others. But you will defend our right to speak our mind, to hold the government to account. I'd like to pay tribute to my predecessor, Sir Peter Bottomley, who gave such wonderful service to this House. And he sent me a lovely little note today. He said, have fun, do some good, and make people happy. And you, Mr. Speaker, I think you stand up every single day, and you can't make all of us happy all the time, but you try and make most of us happy for most of the time. Thank you very much.
The Mayor of the House, Diane Abbott.
I would like to congratulate the Speaker-elect on his election and say this. He has been a Speaker through tumultuous times, but he has never failed to serve with grace and expertise and fairness. I would also like to congratulate the 304 new members of Parliament who have entered Parliament after this election and say to them, it is a great job and you will never regret coming here. I would also like to congratulate the officers of the House who have organised such a meticulous and careful induction. I remember when I was a new MP, they just gave you a bunch of keys and told you to get on with it. So I have to congratulate the officers. I would also like to say that when I was a new member in 1987, there were only 40 female members of Parliament. Today we have 264. And some of us are glad that we have lived to see this. And I can't speak about the increased numbers of female members of Parliament without referencing my predecessor, Baroness Harriet Harman, who did so much to work to have an equal and diverse House. We are going into very tumultuous times. And historically, this House has played a role in these events, both nationally and internationally. And I'm sure it will be the same going forward, and we will be presided over in the excellent way of the Speaker-elect.
I call the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Ed Davey.
Mr. Speaker-elect, it is a real pleasure and privilege to say on behalf of these benchers, congratulations on your re-election. You know only too well how tough a task you're taking on, so thank you for agreeing to serve. You've shown time and again your commitment to the vital role this House plays in holding the government of the day to account. The new government of the day, as the Mother of the House has just said, faces a very difficult task, clearing up the mess it has inherited. We on these benches will hold the government to account. That is our job. We will focus on the health and care crisis. We will focus on ending the sewage scandal. We will focus on helping people with the cost of living crisis. Mr. Speaker-elect, the new government has a huge majority, and therefore it is a particularly difficult job for the Speaker to help the opposition parties as it does its job in holding the government to account. I'm sure you'll do it with independence and impartiality, as you always have done. And we on these benches want to work constructively with you as you do that, as the largest third-party force in this Parliament for over 100 years. And for new members, can I say, Mr. Speaker-elect has always been a real champion for the security and safety of all members and all our staff, as well as looking after our health and welfare, and we are grateful to you for doing that, sir. Just yesterday, you asked after my health following my active campaign. And the House may be interested to know that after I had reassured you about my health, you expressed real enthusiasm about bungee jumping. So can I congratulate you again and wish you the very best for this Parliament.
It's National Party, Stephen Flynn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I wish to begin by welcoming all new members to the Chamber, in particular those members from Scottish constituencies. There's probably a few more new members from Scottish constituencies than I would like to have seen, but I do look forward to working constructively with you to deliver in the best interest of the people that we are all so fortunate to represent. To you, Mr. Speaker-elect, I think it's safe to say that me and you didn't always see eye to eye during the course of the last Parliament. But in politics and in life, I think it's important to let bygones be bygones and to focus on the future. And I think events of that time showed us that me and you have quite a lot in common when it comes to both then and indeed the general election, because despite the best efforts and indeed the best intentions of certain people, we both managed to hang on to the seats that we hold so dear. Mr. Speaker, I do look forward to working constructively with you over the course of the coming weeks, months and years to allow us to best represent the people that we respect in the finest traditions of this House. Thank you very much.
I now call the leader of the DUP, Gavin Robinson.
Congratulations, Mr. Speaker-elect. We are thrilled to see you back in your seat, but for those new members of Parliament who have yet to understand just how this place works, some of them will learn through time that Jim Shannon needed no further encouragement. And so, whilst the reference was appreciated, no doubt, by his mother and others, others will learn to see the consequences of it. Mr. Speaker, we have all survived, and some of us indeed enjoyed, a energetic election campaign. All of us will have experienced the odd one who approached you and said, "I'm not voting for you." I had my fair share. No surprise in that. But in the Guildhall Square in Londonderry, somewhere I wouldn't expect to get too many votes, this man came up and he said, "I'm not voting for you. I'm voting for Lindsay Hoyle." He was a Chorley man, and he impressed upon me the constituency grounding you have, the commitment you have to your community, the length of service you have given him and his neighbours, you and your neighbours, and he impressed upon me how fondly you are thought of within your home constituency. And I, in turn, was able to reflect to him how you have risen within the office you hold, how over the last number of years we have seen just how important it is to have a true champion for us as backbench representatives in Parliament. You have given us that, and it was a pleasure for me to reflect to him and have the ability to reflect to you and the House today just how fond we are of you, the solemnity that you bring to the office you hold, but that you never lose either the steadfast or the chirpy nature of your Lancashire roots. So thank you for putting yourself forward and being prepared to serve us, this House and democracy in this way. I, on behalf of my party colleagues, and I trust those others representing Northern Ireland as well, wish you well and thank you for it.
I now call the Leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker-elect, thank you very much indeed. We are the new kids on the block. We have no experience in this Parliament whatsoever, even though some of us have tried many times over the years previously to get here. So we can't judge you from working in this place, but we can judge you from the way the outside world sees you. And I don't just mean the United Kingdom, I mean the world, because Prime Minister's Questions time is global box office politics, and it's pretty clear to everybody that you act with great neutrality, that you have brought tremendous dignity to the role as Speaker, so we absolutely endorse you entirely for this job. And it is, I must say, in marked contrast to the little man that was there before you and besmirched the office so dreadfully in doing his best to overturn the biggest democratic result in the history of the country. We support you, sir, fully.
I now call the Leader of Plaid Cymru, Liz Saville-Roberts.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Lefarydd, and I too rise to congratulate you on your re-election as Speaker of this House and to wish you well, of course, in presiding over this historic session of the new Parliament. And I'm heartened that for the first time in history, the proportion of women elected here is over 40%. And more than half of those are new to this House. It is fantastic to see steady progress towards proper representation. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate not just the incoming government for their victory, but also the smaller parties in this place. All of us here, whether we belong to the largest parties, the smallest parties, or no parties at all, we were all elected in the same way. Whatever the size of our parliamentary grouping, the principle of one vote, one value is the foundation of our democracy, and that principle should be cherished and defended for the sake of all our constituents. And I repeat now to the House, Mr. Speaker, what I said upon your election all those years ago. All those constituents are equal and they all deserve respect. We begin the work of representing and championing our constituents, and I have every confidence, Mr. Speaker, that you will continue to ensure that representatives here are treated fairly, because our constituents should be treated fairly too. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
The co-leader of the Green Party, Adrian Ramsey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker-elect, and congratulations on the support you have received from across this House today. And I can already say on behalf of the new cohort of Green MPs that we have been very pleased with the support you have given us, where you've shown that you go out of your way to support new members in this House and support MPs from all parties to be able to hold the government to account and represent our constituents. And I know I speak on behalf of all the Green MPs, and I'm sure all the new MPs, in saying we are very conscious that we are here first and foremost to be constituency MPs, to represent our residents, and we appreciate your support in enabling us to do that. May I associate myself with the remarks of the Prime Minister about the importance of politics being about public service, and I very much hope in this new Parliament we can all move to a less tribal form of politics, where we work together, where we can agree and move things forward in the national interest. Mr. Speaker-elect, thank you for your support and congratulations.
I now call the Leader of the SDLP, Colm Eastwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very glad to be back. I'm very glad to see the results of that election. Many people in Northern Ireland are delighted with it, and we look forward to holding the new government to account for the promises that they've made to the people of the north of Ireland. I want to take this opportunity also to welcome all the new members, even the ones that I profoundly disagree with. The one piece of advice I would give every new member here is to remember that the Speaker doesn't just chair the meetings. He's the boss. He is in charge of everything around this place, and it would do well for you not to fall out with him. In fact, even a bit of sucking up sometimes is good. I want to take this opportunity, as I say that, Mr. Speaker, to thank you and to congratulate you for all the fantastic work that you did over the last Parliament. You were a champion, as you said yourself, for the backbenchers of this place. A champion for the smaller parties, even when some of us pushed very, very close to the line when we felt that certain things had to be put on the record of this House. You were there, he knows what I'm talking about, you were there to protect us from some of the legal authorities who would like to get at us some of these times. But anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for that. I wish you all the best in corralling this new House. It is very diverse in terms of representation and in terms of opinion. And I look forward to the end of tribal politics. I think that'll be a sight to behold. Congratulations.
I call Sorcha Lucy Eastwood on behalf of the Alliance Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I warmly congratulate you on your re-election as Speaker-elect. I am here as the new MP for Lagan Valley and representative for the Alliance Party of Northern Ireland. My presence here demonstrates a changing, more shared and integrated Northern Ireland, and of that in Alliance we are very proud. You have managed business smoothly and fairly, including ensuring that smaller parties have had their voices heard. Given the greater diversity of parties in this House, this leadership and precedent becomes even more important. I also want to put on record how well you represented Parliament on the world stage and at the time of the passing of our late Queen and the coronation of our new King. I also want to associate myself with the remarks from the Prime Minister about this job being of public service. All of us in this House do owe a debt of gratitude to our constituents. I will never forget the constituents of Lagan Valley, and I join with everybody in the whole House in looking forward to committing to public service for all. Thank you, Speaker-elect.
Finally, I call Jim Allister on behalf of the traditional unionist voice.
Mr. Speaker-elect, I join in the congratulations and best wishes to you. To this point, of course, I have observed your speakership from a distance. Now I will have the benefit of observing it rather more close up. And with me on my best behaviour and you at your tolerant best, I trust that we will have a mutually cordial relationship going forward. And I will certainly draw upon your guidance and the experience that you bring to this House. As I come to this House, I come on behalf of constituents in Northern Ireland with a very clear message that Northern Ireland's place within this United Kingdom must be restored. We must end the partitioning of our kingdom by a foreign border. And we must end a situation where 300 areas of law in Northern Ireland are not controlled by this House, not controlled by Stormont, but controlled by a foreign parliament. That is an appalling constitutional affront. And my focus in this House will be in playing my part in seeking to redress that gross inequity.
Can I just say thank you for all the kind words from the parties? I just will be remiss of me not to say thank you to the previous deputy speakers. I'm going to thank Nigel, Rosie, Eleanor and Sir Roger for stepping in as he was needed. So it is a big thank you to all of them.
I have to signify to the House the pleasure of His Majesty that the House should present their Speaker this day at 3:45 p.m. in the House of Peers for His Majesty's royal approbation.
The House is suspended until 3:45. Thank you.